All right, back again with another power rankings show. I have missed these. If you are new here to this channel, I do this usually every Monday, where we go over, do the tier rankings for every team heading into the season. It's always a good time, always a bit of a controversy about something or another, but it's fun, and I like doing the tiers instead of just regular power rankings because I feel like you can really. I think this is better, right? Because sometimes it's like, well, why is this team 17th and that team 18th? But the reality is they're like the same caliber of team. Let's just do tier rankings. So yeah, let's get into it. I have a whole new setup. I haven't shaved in a while. That's unrelated. I just need to shave. But let's get into this right off the bat. Let's start off with the Tennessee Titans, who on paper are not a very good team, right? I do think there is some talent here. We can talk about the Dan Moore Jr. contract, overpaying for a tackle, things like that. They have Calvin Ridley, who, again, that was considered an overpay at the time. But ultimately, there's talented players on offense. And of course, you have Cam Ward, who, if he can step up, there is intrigue with this team. So I'm going to put them above the bad tier to scrappy. Listen, they were the worst team in football last year. Can't get too crazy. But you know what? With the Cam Ward stuff, they're interesting. We'll put them in the scrappy tier for now. The Dolphins, again, the Dolphins are just weird because on paper, there's plenty to like about the Miami Dolphins with the Tyreek Hill and the Jalen Waddle stuff with Tua. Don't love this offensive line, but that three-headed horse alone should be good. A lot of speed in the running back room, and they've gotten more physical. Although on defense, I do not like this secondary at all. I think solid feels fair for now, especially with will everyone stay healthy for 17 games? That kind of stuff. That's just where I have them. The Jets, again, it's the Aaron Glenn kind of trying to do the Dan Campbell thing of saying, can we just, can we walk before we run here? You don't go after the superstar quarterback just yet. Can we just try and build things up? Good tackle tandem. This offensive line should be really good on paper. They do have some weapons. Fields can make some plays. He's not the worst quarterback in the world. So I don't know. Is it fair to put them in bad? I think we'll say bad for just the really bad teams. They could be scrappy. They could stay in some games, even if ultimately probably aren't going to be great. The Cincinnati Bengals, listen, this is obviously an awesome offense. Well, at least parts of the offense are awesome. Don't love this offensive line at all. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. You can't be lower. You can't be scrappy or bad with those three guys. But I don't think I can put them in feels like playoffs because this defense is horrible. This offensive line is horrible. I think that's as high as I can go right now. Maybe people will disagree, but that's kind of where I'm at. Cleveland Browns are bad. No doubt about that. Joe Flacco could be interesting. There's enough interesting talent defensively. Maybe they could end up in scrappy. I don't think it's crazy that the Browns could be okay. Again, it's week 0 at this point. So who knows? So early in the year, but yeah, as of right now, I'm not expecting much from the Cleveland Browns. I should mention, if you want to hear me get into more detail about all these teams, I've been doing previews with my podcast co-host Kyle. We've covered every single one of these teams in depth, usually about 15-20 minutes for each team. So if you go into live tab on the channel, you can check those out. The Jaguars, again, I think solid feels fair as of right now. I do think Liam Cohen should bring a lot to this team. I'm interested in what Travis Hunter is going to do. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is as bad as people make him out to be. He hasn't lived up to the contract. He hasn't lived up to first overall. I don't think he's a disaster. I think the question is, can this team get over the hump and can all of it come together here? That I just don't know about. So solid is kind of where I'm going to keep them for now. The Detroit Lions, who are, listen, on one hand, they lost both, on one hand, they were the 1 seed last year, but then they kind of got embarrassed in the playoffs. Embarrassed is probably too strong of a word because their defense was so banged up, they couldn't get stops, and then Goff turned the ball over a few times, and that was kind of it, right? They couldn't recover from that. They lose both coordinators, which, 2 good coordinators, right? Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson both did a lot of good stuff with the Detroit Lions. They lose a couple offensive linemen. Interior of this offensive line might not be great this year. Still have so much talent on offense. Jared Goff's still very good. And their defense should be healthier. Getting Aiden Hutchinson back, right? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to quite put them in Super Bowl contenders because of those concerns, but I think dark horse feels fair. This feels like a team that I'm not counting out of the contention by any means. Then we have the Minnesota Vikings, who we'll see with the young quarterback. Great situation because, awesome receivers, really good offensive line. This I don't love the secondary. I actually think that's kind of a bit of a underrated aspect of this Vikings team is they did, Stephon Gilmore was good for them last year. They don't have that anymore. So what will happen there? I think solid feels fair for them. I think they have a chance to be feels like playoffs if depending on how J.J. McCarthy does. But rookie quarterback or first-year quarterback, you can't. There's concerns, right? There just is. Weirdly negative to start this power ranking show. I don't know exactly what that is, but Tampa Bay, a lot to like about this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Awesome offensive line once Wirfs gets healthy. Awesome receiving core once Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin get healthy. Baker Mayfield is very good. Bucky Irving is very good. Added a lot of depth in the secondary. I think the secondary is going to surprise some people this year. Still don't love one of the linebacker spots. Obviously, Levante David's awesome. Still have some question marks with pass rush and stuff like that, but they should be okay there. I'll put them in dark horse. I think that feels fair. Maybe a bit optimistic, but I think there's a real chance if this team can hit their ceiling, they have an opportunity. So, that's kind of where I'm viewing them. 49ers, a lot of question marks. This might be the biggest wild card heading into this season because there's a ton of if this player plays well, then it could be great. If he doesn't, it could be awesome. All across the board, a lot of guys were injured last year. How are they going to bounce back? A lot of guys just kind of had down years last year. How are they going to bounce back? I like Brock Purdy. I like a lot of these weapons, especially George Kittle. Again, the health is kind of a concern, but Jawan Jennings kind of had a breakout year last year. Will we get more out of Ricky Pearsall this upcoming season? Probably, right? Christian McCaffrey is healthy now. I'm just going to put them in feels like playoffs. I know some people are a little bit higher on them than that. I think feels like playoffs feels fair for me for the 49ers. We'll see if they can earn more than that. The Atlanta Falcons, Michael Penix to me is still a question mark. I know he played really well in 3 games, and I liked him a lot coming out of college, but he still just is a question mark. We'll have to wait and see a little bit on him. So there's that. The rest of the offense should be very good. The Caleb McGarry injury, that sucks. Offensive line should be good outside of that, though. Good weapons. Drake London, one of the most underrated players in football. And this defense, could it be better? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like everyone in the secondary seemingly had a career down year last year. If they can get back to what they were 2 years ago, I think that you could have some better play there. Couple of young edge rushers. This has a team with really high ceiling, but for now, it's all potential. It's all theoretical with the Falcons. So solid is going to be where I keep them. Baltimore Ravens, I think they have to be my first Super Bowl contender. Again, the Ravens are the Ravens. They had the number 1 defense in EPA once they kind of shuffled their secondary around midway through the year last year. Have the, guy with 2 MVPs. I thought he should have won MVP last year, although I didn't think he should have won MVP 2 years ago, so kind of all works out. Lamar Jackson, we know he's fantastic. Derrick Henry, we know he's fantastic. Yeah, this is a team that, again, they're going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs, almost guaranteed. It'd be a shock if they weren't there, barring injuries. So you gotta keep them on a top tier. I think they have a real chance. The Chicago Bears are a team that how do you have an opinion on how the Chicago Bears are going to be this year? Right? It's so Caleb Williams dependent. I don't know what to make of how this is all going to go. I'm a big Ben Johnson fan. I think he was a huge part of that Lions team these past couple of years, and I think that he should add a lot to this Bears team. Much improved offensive line. But again, how do you know? I still think there are don't love this edge rush situation for the Bears, right? There's a couple things like that defensively, but I think the question is just Caleb Williams. I have no idea. I'll dump them into solid tier for now, and we'll see how it goes from there. The Cowboys are also going to be in solid again. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb should be good enough, and they do have other pieces. They have, George Pickens, who they added, right? So it's not just that. I will say this is already a defense I had some concerns about, and now I don't know if Micah, as of recording this, I'm recording this a little bit earlier than I'm going to post it, so it's possible something has happened with the Micah Parsons situation. I have not heard of anything happening, so as of right now, I'm assuming, I don't know what to assume if he'll play or not. So I'll just keep solid there. Texans definitely feel like playoffs. For one thing, their division is a weaker division, so like that makes it pretty easy. But even without that, they would be in the feels like playoffs tier, and I don't really view it that way. I put you in that tier if I feel like you deserve that tier, not because of your circumstances or anything like that. Defense should be really good this year. I do think that I actually don't think the offensive line is. I don't think it's as bad as maybe people think it is if you actually look at the players, because yes, they did lose Laramie Tunstall, but I think they might have a better weak link situation now than they had last year. So, because again, offensive line is a weak link position. It's still not great. It's still not ideal, but you got CJ Stroud, you got some weapons. Like, yeah, they'll be a playoff team. We'll just see if they can be more than that. Indianapolis Colts, I mean, yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't know how much to trust Daniel Jones. I kind of like this roster around Daniel Jones. I don't know if they have a ton of like superstars, but they have a ton of solid players, solid line, solid. I like Jonathan Taylor, solid receiving core. Like, I think they could put up some points, play defense pretty well. I said solid like 8 times in that, so how can I not put them in the solid tier, which has weirdly been a very busy tier. I did not expect that, but that's maybe that's just heading into the season. Like, there's a lot of question marks, so who knows? But yeah, the Rams are next up on this list. I'm in between feels like playoffs and dark horse for them. I think dark horse just has to feel right? I have some question marks about, can we get 17 plus good games out of Matthew Stafford? But you know what? You don't need that many good games out of Matthew Stafford. Can you get 3 great games and another 10 good games out of Matthew Stafford in the regular season, and then get him in the playoffs where he'll be good? That's kind of what happened last year, right? You have that. You do have a potential, on paper, a great receiving core with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Would like a third option. Tutu Atwell is not bad, but would like maybe more depth. But it's still really good, one of the better receiving cores in the league. And then, the defense is still a bit of a question mark. I do think they have some good depth there, though, so I like that. Yeah, definitely a team. And, of course, you have the superstar defensive rookie of the year edge rusher on there as well. So, yeah, definitely a dark horse there. The Chargers had a really good defense. I am concerned about that secondary, though. I think it kind of punched above its weight class last year and has lost some talent. So, like, there's some concerns there. Should be well coached. Offense should be better. How much better remains to be seen, but it should be better. They lost Rashawn Slater. That sucks. But I'm a Justin Herbert believer. I think he is very good. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but I think he's like tier 2 quarterback, right? And definitely a feels like playoffs team. They might be the most feels like playoffs team. Definitely feel comfortable saying playoffs, but don't feel comfortable saying more than that as of right now. The Raiders, I mean, I don't know. They're interesting. Like, definitely have some concerns on defense for sure, but I don't know. Ashton Genty should be awesome up the middle. You have Geno Smith, who's a very good quarterback. You have, although Jacoby Myers just requested a trade, but you have, a lot of guys who should be able to work over the middle well. I'm very fascinated in how this team can work. I'm not willing to count this team out just yet. We're going to put them in the solid tier yet again. Another solid tier team. The Commanders, next up on this list, another team I'm a little bit wondering, do I put them in dark horse or feels like playoffs? I love Jaden Daniels. I put Jaden Daniels as my 5th best quarterback on my list of best quarterbacks. I think that he is fantastic. Big Jaden Daniels fan. They re-signed Terry McLaurin, so you have that. You have Deebo Samuel. We'll see what you get out of him. Offensive line should be able to pass protect very well and run block well. Good enough running backs on top of this with Austin Eckler and Bill Korski. How do you say his last name? I forget. I'm not going to try. Bill. You know who I'm talking about there for the Washington Commanders. Real question marks about this defense. Lattimore did not play great last year. We'll see if that was new. We'll see how that works. It does happen sometimes when a corner plays a different scheme. It doesn't fully work out. You also have Trey Amos, who I really liked a lot coming out of college, but he's a rookie corner who's probably going to be a starter. Real questions there, I think. So because of those big questions, I think I'm going to just put feels like playoffs for now. A little bit harsh on the Commanders compared to what other people would be. That's just how I'm viewing it. Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, come on. Like, what is this deal with people acting like the Kansas City Chiefs are dead? Like, the Kansas City Chiefs have gone to, 5 out of the last 6 Super Bowls. They've won 3 of them. They have recently gone to 3 straight Super Bowls, won 2, and then just lost the last one. And now they've gotten better. They've added a tackle, so they don't have that horrible situation they had all of last year. They're getting Rashee Rice back. Like, they've added talent in the secondary to get a little bit deeper there. What's going on here? I mean, this is a team that, like, I don't understand why. I was looking at the Vegas odds, and the Chiefs weren't even top 2 in the AFC. Both the Bills and Ravens had higher odds than the Chiefs. I think that's crazy. Like, we can sit here and discuss, will they be able to win it again? But the fact that it's a down season for them to play bad in the Super Bowl when they lost, 2 games all of last year, it's crazy. Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. On the other end of the spectrum, the Saints are definitely another team in the bad tier. They have, that quarterback situation, which isn't great. Don't love this receiving room. I like Chris Olave when he's healthy. Don't love this offensive line. They still have Alvin Kamara there. Why not trade Alvin Kamara, right? Doesn't that make sense? Like, you're trying to rebuild, do that? I don't know. That's what I would do. You don't have the defense, which I don't. There could be some players. There's some players I like there, but as a whole, not a huge fan of what's going on in New Orleans right now. The Giants, again, I mean, they put a lot of resources into trying to be better, and I like that. I still feel like it's all on paper, right? I want to see it in action. So because of that, I'm going to put them in scrappy. I don't think they're not a bad team. They're definitely not a bad team. You could talk me into solid as well. That's getting a little crowded, so I gotta be a little bit. If I'm in between scrappy and solid, I just gotta put you in scrappy at that point, just so the tier doesn't get too crowded. But yeah, they could be interesting. We'll see how things go, but I still think this is a rebuilding year for the Giants. Eagles obviously are Super Bowl contenders. How could they not be? Just won the Super Bowl. Did lose a couple pieces for sure, but they were so deep last year. I think even with losing those pieces, they're a little bit worse than they were last year. They could still win a Super Bowl because that's how good they were last year. The Pittsburgh Steelers are another team that, I don't know. I'm going to put them in a solid tier again. I feel like I have to, right? I mean, I think their defense should still be very good. Maybe they could have a really great defense, actually. They've added pieces in the secondary, which has kind of sometimes been their issue, is they haven't always been great at corner. They've always been great at front seven. So that's kind of what's been keeping them in stuff. Added DK Metcalf, who I like a lot more than I think other people do. And then there's the whole Aaron Rodgers of it all, which, I think, gun to my head, do the Steelers finish with a winning record? I think I say yes. I know a lot of people are anti-Aaron Rodgers. Listen, I get it. But I still think that he wasn't that bad on the football field last year. I don't know. I think they'll be solid, kind of leaning towards feels like playoffs, but I'll keep them in solid for now. Broncos feels like playoffs. I mean, number 1 defense in the league last year, and they've improved in that aspect, so that's always good. Bo Nix, we'll see if he can take a year 2 leap. Even if he doesn't, he was pretty good year 1, they should be able to run that offense. I still have some questions about, when you play good defenses, can you get guys open? And we saw in the playoffs against the Bills, with the exception of that one big play early when they got a touchdown, there just wasn't guys open. At a certain point as a quarterback, it doesn't matter how good you are. If no one's open, no one's open. So, that's the concern about, further than playoffs, but playoffs do feel pretty imminent, I would say. The Packers, I feel like I need to do something different because I'm putting every team into solid tier, and I kind of feel like the Packers are also in the solid tier. So I'll put them here. Maybe I'm going to split up these two, perhaps. I don't know. For now, we'll just do this. Again, we'll see what we get out of Jordan Love. I think that a lot of people, Jordan Love has a lot of hype around him. I don't know exactly what is going on with the Jordan Love hype. I mean, I get it, right? He's had really good stretches of his career. I just feel like he's also had stretches where he hasn't looked great. And yeah, sure, maybe he was figuring out what's going on his first year, and then he was banged up his second year. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe he just had some, he's a bit of a streaky player. I don't know. We'll see. More than just one player. For more than just one player to a football team. And so I do think that with Matt LaFleur and the talent around him, they should be able to be effective offensively. This is a team that definitely has a real chance to be in the playoffs. I think leaning playoffs perhaps, but not quite feels like playoffs. Panthers should be scrappy. Still don't love this defense. I don't. I think that's the issue. But I feel like with Ted McMillan bringing him on board with Bryce Young, really good offensive line. They should put up points for sure. They should. And they've added some pieces in the secondary. Like you get Derek Brown back. Could this defense be okay? Maybe. But again, I want to see it. So, and I want to see that jump offensively. They showed real flashes of having great offensive games, but they still had that Tampa Bay game in Tampa Bay where they couldn't get anything going. Like they still had some moments where they got stuck in the mud. I want to see it more consistently. So hopefully they can get better than scrappy. For now though, that's going to be where I have them. Okay, I'm realizing now I'm going to have half of the league in solid. Maybe that's just fine. Maybe I was trying to think if I should break this up, but maybe that's okay. Maybe I can just have too many teams in the solid tier. That's, I guess, how every team is, I guess, how I feel about these teams. Because the Cardinals, I think solid feels fair. Maybe playoffs could be the case. Here's how I'm going to do this. I am going to break this up at you, I think. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I added the leaning playoffs tier, which I still wasn't able to clean up that much out of, but at least I got a few. The Bengals, the Steelers, and the Packers. I feel like leaning playoffs feels okay. And you know what? The Cardinals, not quite there. But I'm debating whether or not I should put them there because they do have. Again, I like adding new pieces defensively. If they can hit, I think this could be a playoff team. You do have, I like Kyler Murray. I think he's a really underrated player. My podcast co-host is all on board saying the Cardinals are a playoff team. I can see it. I can see the vision. James Conner's awesome. They do have weapons. I totally get it. But I still want to see, they added Josh Sweat. The defense should be better. But still some secondary question marks for me too. Can't quite go too hard just yet for them. Bills are contenders. Obviously, the Bills are Super Bowl contenders. They were so close to getting to the Super Bowl. Who knows what would have happened if they got there? But yeah, Bills are fantastic. Should be good again. The Seahawks, again, solid feels fair. It's interesting how the state of the league is right now. Of how many teams I feel I'm yeah, I could see it, but I don't know. We'll see how Darnold does in his new scheme, right? That's kind of what it comes down to. Don't love this offensive line. Defense should be good. We'll see. The Patriots, again, maybe it's just because I have too many teams into solid and I want to put them somewhere else. I'm going to keep them in scrappy for now. I know, again, my podcast co-host Kyle, very excited about the prospects of the Patriots coming up. And listen, I get why there is room for excitement with this team. I do feel like they should, the Mike Vrabel stuff, they should be a lot more fundamentally sound. I still just feel I don't know. I don't love this offense. And Drake May showed flashes last year, but he still was inconsistent and, it was in a bad situation. It's hard to evaluate him. I think the defense should be a lot better. Defense could actually be pretty good, but as a whole, a pretty good defense and a not great offense doesn't win you a ton of games in the NFL. But they're not bad. Definitely not bad. Closer to solid than bad. So, yeah. That is my tier rankings. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this? What am I wrong about? What am I right about? Do you agree that kind of feels like a third of the league, if not half of the league, just feels kind of in one tier to start the year? I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.